Yeah.
That real inner throat.
Tell me what you
Okay,
really
this
feeling.
is Pirate.Utopia. This is part 12.
All right.
Our guest today, I'm super excited to present Paul Lyons, our guest. Paul is a friend of mine for, gosh, it's been almost 10 years now, I think. And we've gigged together doing AV. Paul is an amazing musician and just all around fun dude. We've been to some Phish shows together. And one reason why I'm really excited that you're on the show is Paul and I did a podcast like years ago, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. And it was like my very first kind of like recorded talk show thing. And you were my very first guest. And we recorded, I don't know, the very first thing that has now perpetuated into like where it is now. It's like it's an online kick it, the online pirate ship. So welcome aboard, Paul.
Thanks, Jesse. Good to see you again, man.
Yeah. And I'm just also stoked to introduce you to Aaron, who's also a great musician and also has been to some Phish shows as well.
Yeah. Phish brings us all together.
Absolutely. They are the nexus of goodness in some ways.
Oh,
Yeah.
they plant seeds.
What have you been up to, Paul? I saw that you just did, you just kind of threw up like a couple hour set that I just really enjoyed the other day. That's why I was like, I got to hit up Paul before I can't find him on Facebook anymore. So what you been up to?
Thanks, man. Yeah. I have been doing some gigs. There was some outdoor gigs whilst it was cold, warm enough. I've been teaching piano, but that's all Zoom, and that's really cut down, but that's all right. I'm all right with that. I've cut down, the student numbers have cut down, but my standards have gone slightly up. I don't like, I've initiated everyone has to keep a practice journal now starting this year. So to keep track of their practice progress, because otherwise it's just chaos. Anyway, and I've also been doing, it's kind of top secret, but a Phish related art project.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's been occupying my time a lot. So I'm not like an artist like you guys, but or definitely I know you are, Jesse, but I don't know. Are you an artist, Aaron?
Of sorts. I mean, besides music, I do I do a lot of events and installation art kind of thing.
That's art.
Yeah, that's mostly what I do besides music, but yeah.
Wait, before we go any further, Aaron, could you come down a little bit, and Paul, can you come up a little bit?
Cool.
Sure. Check 1, 2.
No, Aaron is a
hello
dope electronic producer, and then he's also does these like installation projects in Austin where like one of his things is called a dance pod, which is cool because it started before COVID, but now it's like perfect. So he has like these vibrating dance floors that are in sync with the low frequencies. So when the sub is hitting, you're feeling it on the floor and it lights up. But it's kind of cool because I feel like it's going to fit in perfectly in the next couple of years as we're like getting back out there, but we're being more like virus sensitive or like just germ sensitive in general, but you still want to go dance, but then you'll have it like a little bit more isolated and safe. It's just kind of funny. It seems like it's just like perfect timing for stuff like that.
Are you inside a pod when you're doing that, Aaron?
No, it's actually like it's essentially a dance floor. We call them the clever name that we're going with now is tactiles because they're like hexagon tiles. Yeah, but they're hexagonal tiles that you kind of put together. It's like a modular dance floor with with transducers underneath it. So it's basically like you're just walking on a subwoofer or standing on a subwoofer. So yeah, that's. Yeah, so you kind of sit on them, but they kind of create a pod. But the thing is that since they're modular, you can have them be spaced out as much as you want, as much as the cables will allow you.
Oh,
so,
cool.
Yeah, we did not plan for social distancing, but it was convenient when social distancing rolled around. We're like, oh, we can still do this. Set them 6 feet apart, and you're good when you're on a pod. So.
Yeah, and Jesse, do you feel like Aaron needs to come down on his volume right now?
Only come down.
If he could, but
yeah, I can bring it down.
You sound good now. Now you sound nice and rich, Paul.
I'm rich. Good.
Like Howard Stern, rich.
Oh yeah.
All right, so let's just jump into like a quick. Let's do some quick interview questions with Paul.
Oh, me.
Just
Okay.
'cause I like to. Paul's pretty quick, so I like to fire him off at him. But so let's just start with like writer's block or creative block. Do you deal with that? And if you do deal with it, what are some techniques that you use to get around it or to just make peace with it?
Oh, that's a good question, isn't it? I just actually watched the Neil Gaiman masterclass on Masterclass, and he had a really good thing on it. I have found this to be true. It actually was like, oh, duh, that's why I've had like writer's block or why I get writer's block. So what he says is like imagine you're going like on a journey, right? And at some point you take a left turn and you find yourself just getting stuck, and you're really eventually just stuck. And so what most people do when they get writer's block is they get stuck there, and they're stuck, and then they're trying to move on from there. But the thing is something went wrong previous to that point. So the point of being at writer's block is itself not the spot where you screwed up. It was actually back. So you need to backtrack and be willing to delete, so to speak. You need to be willing to cut off all that junk that you did wrong. So that's definitely I feel that sometimes, like, oh no, that was just a wrong. That just like it, and you're just on a wrong alley, and the alley gets thinner and it gets more narrow, and so most people think, oh, I need to punch through these obstacles and stuff, but I think you need to go back to where the juice was, back to the juice. That could be a movie.
Back to the juice. That's your next album, right there.
Back to
before
juicer. Yeah.
Before we go further, I actually am curious. So, could you give us a rundown of what all of your creative projects are? Like, what are the things that you do? Do you write as well, or do you like what are your musical projects? What are the things that you're most focused on?
Okay, I'll be honest. I'm not put out the most, but I might have the most in pre-production of any human, which is not a good thing, honestly. And I'm starting to like, all right, let me just really try to, snip off a chunk and put it in the oven and bake it, and not just be like constantly making more sourdough. So for right now, what my plan is for this year, and I've never done this. Well, I've made an EP, but I've never done a whole album, and I would really like to make an album. And I have the songs written, and I have them all demoed, and I have them all. I'm basically finishing the charts now, and I'm polishing up the lyrics and what they're going to be. And my plan is just to rent a studio. So that's a very concrete plan that I have. It's a plan, but a plan is not quite there yet. But that's feeling good. So yeah, I write songs and stuff. I make demos, tons and tons of them. Right? I'm sure you do as well, Aaron. Right?
Oh yeah.
Right on. And those feel great to make and stuff. I also have a lot of like crazy like ideas for stuff, like TV shows and movies and stuff that probably never ever get made, and that's all right. But sometimes I forget what the hell I've done or do. Sometimes it feels like I haven't done a whole lot, to be quite honest. But I feel like I could now I feel like it's time for me to now just to make little things, like to not to make big things, just to do little like things that I can actually accomplish. So now actually what I've been doing recently is getting back to learning classical music. And specifically like just learning always every day. The goal is to every day learn at least 2 to 4 measures that I've never learned before. At least that way I know I'm going at least somewhere. And I feel that really helps with my piano playing in general. I like really do feel like it anyway, like so Bach and Debussy is what I'm working on. And it feels very satisfying to do that.
Those guys are very satisfying composers. Like their music feels really good to play, feels really good to listen to. Yeah, there's a lot of rewards there.
Yeah, people who don't play and they can't. It's like 10 times more rewarding to play it than to like listen to it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
just each and every finger movement just feels so good when you're. And so I practice that slow. And then what I've been doing is I've been transcribing some stuff. Actually, just 2 Phish songs I finished transcribing. I've always just wanted to know how the hell they went. The chord changes, the melodies, everything. So I did Rift and Esther the last couple weeks.
Oh yeah,
those are good ones. And I want to do It's Ice next. That's my next one to tackle because it's so awesome. And Stash maybe as well.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So stuff like that. And then I have this crazy idea for a music system that I want to like write a book for. It's like all this stuff, but and I have some musicals that I like have been writing the music for years, and so there are all kinds of stuff. I'm sorry to keep ragging on, but yeah, it's a lot. But at this point, I'm just like, let me just do anything. So I said to my girlfriend, this year is my year to like go public, which is kind of funny that Jesse hit me up to like be on your show. But like this year I'm not gonna be like, I'm gonna be putting shit out is how I feel this year. Not like just like, I don't know. There is this tendency amongst creators, and maybe this is the point that I like to share with like other people who are creators, where you're just like hung up on your own underwear, so to speak. And it's like, no, dude, kick it out the door. Like when I used to work at a sandwich shop, you make a sandwich. That sandwich is what it is. The mustard, it ends up being what it is, and you can't be like, well, it needs to be perfect. No, man, you gotta sell that sandwich. You gotta wrap it up, smack it on the fucking counter. Give me $8.50.
Give me $8.50.
That's how much those cost. $8.50.
Oh, it's tough out there in Vermont. Is that where you are right now? Are you in Vermont?
Yeah, I'm actually in Burlington, Vermont, which is where I moved with my gal, who I met at the same place where me and Jesse met, where we worked together.
We met so many awesome people at that Omega Institute.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. So to me, you're kind of like this. There's a couple people that I can kind of relate to. I feel like in a creative, mad scientist way, and I feel like you and I have that relation where it's two totally different types of creating, but like where there's like, I'm working on so many different things at once, and it's hard for me to really it's hard for me to narrow it down and explain what I'm doing on a day-to-day to somebody, because it's like I'm doing a little bit of this, and a month or two later you look back and all of those days added up, it comes to like, okay, Pirate.Utopia episode 12 or whatever. But so like when I met Paul, kind of like what you're saying, like I'm surprised you don't have work out there, because you are always making so much stuff. Like it just seems like your mind is like just kind of this like reel of like, it's like this, like you're at a sushi conveyor belt place and it's just like, hey, like look at this could be a TV show, this could be an album, this could be a song. And I've always really admired that about you, and I wanted to bring that up because I was like, is that something that you realized about yourself at any point as being like not normal, or saying like that you have like a lot of extra creative energy, or were you just like that as a kid and considered normal in your family like that?
Oh, I mean, I think I knew it was a little bit abnormal. Here, I'll show you something. I'll get out something. So this here is the stuff I wrote when I was a kid, These are my when I broke my hand, I broke my left hand because I'm a lefty. I wrote what I thought was going to be an awesome novel. So here it is, right here, handwritten.
Wow. Handwritten
novel. Seventh grade. Yep. Yeah. And it's absolutely awful. But anyway, I think my thing's clipping. But and then I have here. This is fun to show off. This is my little comic books. That now I'm actually thinking these are kind of smart. The first one was The Attack of the Kid Muncher, and it was about this guy. His name is Dr. Mimi, which sounds like meme.
Right. Totally.
You're right of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like this idea that memes are going to eat us, and that we're just going to become like vessels for ideologies, which is what we're seeing right now, in my opinion.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And so that's like, what we put in we put kids into these factories. I remember being like a kid and be like, dude, why am I going to this hot dog factory every day and just turn this sausage? It was like awful. I went to Catholic school, and so yeah, just like I don't know what the hell, it was an outlet for that. And then I learned to play the piano, and I started writing songs. And my friends, I remember the first song we wrote. It was called Big Dave. It was about a kid at school. So I play it for you if you want, real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. This goes, Big Dave, big as a donkey. Everyone calls him a big white honky. That's all the lyrics I remember. And so just like making that stuff up. But it wasn't, I think, until like high school where I just like started like taking my dogs on walks, and just like lyrics would come to me. You guys know what I mean? Or images come to you, and I was just like, I'm gonna go write these down. And this album that I hope to like put out, it's literally one of those songs is literally from when I was 17 years old. I just never recorded it. So I don't know, and stuff like that. And then it was like, oh well, I like wrote stuff, and I like made songs, but then like I was making comics and drawing, really into drawing, and I was into painting for a while. Just a kid doing stuff, and then just I have a file here. It's called Random Ideas. This is just always fun to look at. What is in here? God knows what, but it's always fun to look at some random idea. Like here, this is my image for my studio someday. Oh yeah, that's gonna be
sick.
Yeah. Oh, look at that! Look at that 2 terabyte hard drive that I thought was gonna be the shit.
No monitors though.
Like Takaya.
Yeah, like Sakai. Yeah, looks like Sakai's drawings. Anyway, so just I think what's different with me is I start stacking it up. One thing happened is I after like college, I threw out every song I ever wrote, and that was awful. And I was like, I'm never gonna do that again.
Why did you do that?
I think I was going through like a spiritual thing, spiritual thing. Where it's just like nothing. Who am I? Like that sort of like non-duality, sort of identity stuff. Being like, I am not Paul. Paul is just like but so I'm coming to grips with like being a human, but also like having an identity and having creativity, but also like kind of wanting to transcend that, not being like, oh, this is me, I do this. Maybe that's why I haven't put out much, because it's just like I sort of so that's what I'm saying, like hamstrung myself with weird ideas, like spiritual ideas that you think like Buddhists, they don't do anything, they just do nothing. These sort of ideas, like it's like egoic of me to like be like to like make things and to put them out there and to engage with the world. But so I just think that's all very confused. That's a confused young man's thoughts right there. That's how I feel now, and I'm like, let me just whatever, it's great, and we put it out. All I get from people is like positive responses, and I'm sure you guys do too. It's like, so much good comes back to you when you put out stuff. When you put out, really, is what you're doing. You're putting out your energy. You're putting out your life force.
Yeah. There's something interesting. I feel like, I identify a lot with that, and for a long time, for me at least, it was that my music wasn't quite at at the level I wanted it to be, wasn't ever good enough. But yeah, I think for me last year, I had a similar kind of thing where I was just about, like, I'm just going to put out everything. I just need to, like, so that guy I was talking about earlier, I don't know if you heard that, but there's a guy named Seth Godin who's been really influential to me. And it's funny that you, Jesse, asked about creative, or what is it, writer's block, because Seth Godin has a really cool riff and perspective on writer's block, which is basically that it's real, but it doesn't exist. And I think it comes down to another thing. So his book now is called The Practice, and the practice is to ship creative work. Make something and ship it. Like, it's not real until you put it out there in the world and let people engage with it. And that, he's definitely helped me in a lot of ways, because I feel like I identified with you, like, similarly, where it's like, am I just doing this for self-aggrandizement? Am I just doing this for my ego to, be, fluffed up and stuff? I want love from all of these people around me, so I put things out. But in reality, what you're doing by creating work and putting it out in the world to be, loved or hated or whatever is a generous act. You're contributing, you're giving. And so that's been huge for me to try to switch to that sort of mindset, that it's necessary. If Buddha never went out and gave talks, like, we would never know. Who would care? If he just kept sitting there in his enlightenment underneath the tree, like, okay, that would have been good for him, but it was good for the world that he decided to step out and offer it. Now, that being said, it's difficult for us, normal people who are just like, I wrote a cool song about something that I like, to imagine that that might be as useful as whatever the Buddha might say. But I think in its own context, you never know what value the work that you create could have for somebody, and so it's another thing to think about, like, as you put something out,
Yeah, I almost feel like I almost land on the side of like putting out every single thing that I make, which is just like constantly putting stuff out, where it's like it could be maybe like reined in a little bit, because it's just like, quality over quantity sometimes. But then there's another part of me that's almost like I'm so black and white in a lot of things, where I'm like, I'm either going to put out nothing or I'm going to share everything. And trying to like navigate that line, to get back to being like, all right, you don't have to put out everything. But at the same time, as a fan of somebody's work, I like to see everything that they make. And even if it's like journal entries or like what they're looking, what kind of books they're reading, or to me, like, I think that's interesting. And most artists that I like and follow don't put out enough work, in my opinion. Music as well. Like, even my favorite musicians, I'm like, I can't wait for the next album. Even when their album comes out and it's brand new, I'm already like, I can't wait for them to do more. As a fan, so I'm not saying that I have that many fans right now that are like diehard burger fans, but like, maybe in the future they might be like, oh, I wonder what book he's reading, or like, what's a day in the life look like, or something like that, and trying to be like, maybe somebody is interested in this, instead of like, nobody cares, I don't matter type of feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like the way that the internet's going, that is kind of more viable, especially us as musicians. Like, the old model that we kind of grew up with is like, you get a record deal and then you put a record out every, 2-3 years or whatever. Some of my favorite musicians put out a record every 5 to 10 years or something, and then you tour on that record for a long time and just kind of sit on it. And so there's a lot of this pressure that, like, when you put out a statement, like an album or something, that it's got to be this grand thing that encompasses all of what you've been doing over this past year, and so it's got a lot of weight to it. But I mean, nowadays that the record industry is kind of toppled, and we're seeing the rise of social media. Like, I mean, we've seen the rise of social media. It's like becoming much more of like, just put out a small project, or whatever, to whatever length you want, but release all the external content, release all the like demos, put out all of the live streams and all of it's like document. It's like we're seeing more rewards for documenting the process now, because like you said, your fans will care. They'll like it. They like to see the like struggles and the whole journey. And some people, sure, they just want to hear the album on Spotify or see whatever, here's your song on a playlist. But the true fans that you're really making it for will want to like see, you're inviting them into your world, So I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's helpful for me. Thank you guys. That's good. Yeah, it's yeah. This grand opus, there's nothing, talk about writer's block, there's nothing more writer's block inducing than the specter of having to produce some ungodly, humongous, freaking grand, concerto for 5 pianos and two octopuses.
And it's going to change the world. It's gonna put you in like a psychedelic transcendental state when you hear it, and you're gonna like reconnect with Shiva and like.
Right. Oh yeah, I remember one time I made a file on like a notation software, and it was It was just blank measures, but it was a piece, like an orchestral piece. It was 1,000 measures long, and it was a piece for 1,000 instruments. Like, and away we go. Let me write 1,000,000 measures of music here. And it crashed the computer. Nobody heard that music because it never got made.
Not yet.
Yeah, that's damn sure.
Now you could probably do it on Sibelius. They could probably do 1,000 instruments, right?
Oh yeah, actually probably could.
Yeah, I think, well, there's to that end, like, it was funny because, like, with writer's block and a lot of what I've learned from Seth Godin, because he has this whole thing about, like, how, you're staring at the blank page and what do I write? I don't know. Da, da, da. And his whole thing is that if you don't have any good ideas, it's probably because you don't have enough bad ideas. So just make a bunch of bad ideas and eventually a good idea will pop out. And that's the thing, is like we had kind of sit down with this model of like Beethoven in our minds of just like, that's what you got to aim for. You got to aim for Beethoven. Like, he wrote this amazing Ninth Symphony, which we can all agree on, right? As the greatest piece of music ever written. And you have all of this like weight just crushing you. And then it takes so much time to like decouple yourself from all of that conditioning and be like, I'm not Beethoven. Like, I'm not anything. And then you actually do research and you find out Beethoven struggled with all of this bullshit, and all of what we think about Beethoven has been added on by, a handful of writers who describe this lone genius wandering through the world with this magnificent work. And it's just all bullshit. And so, yeah, I think for me, it's very inspiring to kind of sit down and to treat it like meditation or something. Like every day, when you sit down to meditate in the morning, it's not like, you meditate with this experience that you're going to receive some divine transmission and it's going to completely change everything. You just sit and meditate on the moment. And it's the same thing when you work on music. It's like, I'm just sitting and I'm going to make a song. We're going to see where it goes and, play. And maybe something amazing will come out. Maybe something won't. And I don't know. And I think that's a much more rewarding experience because then you're allowed to play. You're allowed to have fun with it and just kind of be like, cool, this is what we made,
Yeah, we used to at Omega, Sakaya and Tyler and I, these would be Jesse's ex-coworkers as well. We would do these things called 5-minute beats. Were you ever there for any of those, Jesse?
I don't know. Not necessarily the 5-minute beat.
Those are a hoot.
Free bin.
Yeah, Yeah, you were in the free bin. Anyway, yeah. So or 10 minutes, but it would be like, all right, you get the computer. You can get it ready. You can get like some like instruments in the Ableton Live set already and stuff. But once that clock goes, you get 5 minutes or 10 to make a song. And like actually, some of those 10-minute, 5-minute beats they became like the tracks. And we made an album in like lickety split, no time. I think it was in like with less than 2 months we had like made a whole pretty good album that I still listen to. Because it's so fresh sounding. It was all like just like randomness, but it came out really good because there was no there's no fear. It was just like boom, make stuff. Now if people want me to just like put all my crazy shit I put out, all right, well, I might break we might break the internet. That's maybe we have this like maybe we need to like unedit the editing. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like open it up a little bit more. Maybe, because there's a lot I'm sure we all have a lot in the backlog that maybe that stuff actually is probably kind of just like constipation at that point. Like, what do? Just shit it all over the world? Like, hey, here we go. That feels better for me. Like, I don't know. Is there an ethic to this? Or is it just like, whatever, put it out?
I mean,
I don't know.
I say put it out, but like,
yeah.
I mean, what's the worst that can happen by putting stuff out? No,
nothing at all, huh?
Yeah.
Really? Unless it's like, inappropriate, but I'm sure it's just, yeah. So, I think this could be very helpful for a lot of people. Like this idea, this message. It's helpful for me today. I had no idea who I was going to be talking to except Jesse. So, and I didn't know what we were talking about. But this is helpful. It's like, yeah, put out more. Now, I had this idea of the beginning of the year to do like every day, put out like a piano improv, and I haven't done it every day, but I guess that's a good idea. But just put out something every day. That'd be a good goal for someone to have. Someone like me who's sort of creatively backlogged.
Uh-huh.
Just to make it, just demand, you have to put. Me and Tyler, who Jesse worked with, we did a thing last year where it was we each had to write a song every day and share it with each other for a month.
Oh wow.
You know, so I did full demos for each one, so 30 demos in a row.
Huh.
30 songs, complete with lyrics, chords. What's that?
You never posted them anywhere?
No.
Okay.
You know, so maybe that'd be a good thing to do.
It totally would be.
I might just take this up as a challenge. You guys, you have to like revisit me in 6 months.
Yeah, in 30 days, there better be 30 songs out.
All right, I can. Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing about the pirate ship is like it's not necessarily the Paul Lyons episode. You can definitely board the ship more than once. Like if you do put out an album this year and you want to promote it and cross pollinate it with like our subscribers and friends, then we'd be happy to have you on.
Well, thanks. Yeah.
So I want to ask you a little bit about like your creativity and your work too, but like with COVID. So like I was all lined up to have like my first solo gallery art show, right? And then like COVID hits, and I mean I had the gallery lined up. Everything was pretty much ready to go except for like handing over the deposit and doing the last final signature. But as COVID started to come up, like it just became clear, like, you know, no one's going to go out to an art show. I'm just going to wait until I have a clear green light. This is the time to do it. And with that, you know, it was pretty disheartening. You know, it's like working on all these paintings and everything. And now getting like kind of having my world close in a little bit. Like I just the other day got the Oculus 2. I'm like doing all this like VR stuff with my paintings and digitizing them. And it's just really revolutionizing like how I'm gonna continue to be able to share my work. Like for one, if you came over, you could put on the headset and go through a VR world with my art in there, which is sick. Like I would have never done that if COVID didn't happen, you know? And then from here, I can like export videos, I can export them and they can become like video game levels. There's just like endless possibilities that you can do with that. And so I'm wondering like, with your music, do you feel like you want to do more like shows, live streaming? Are you doing any like gigs like that? I know you said in the beginning, like you're teaching on Zoom, but do you, you know what I mean? Like, do you have any like desire to play live on Zoom or, you know, make that type of thing more of a regular thing, or have you been doing that?
I would love to. I think that would be a good thing to do. Yeah, that would be fun. It's been just random going on Facebook or whatever, or BandLab. You guys ever heard of BandLab?
I haven't.
No, okay. It's anyway, it's a music creation and sharing, like social media blended together kind of site. But you could do streaming on there, and I've done some streams on there. They don't save it the stream, so you have to like record it yourself.
Okay.
But no, it's very cool to do live streaming. I would love to do some more of that. In fact, I've planned to do some more of that, but I kind of just haven't got around to it.
Okay.
Where it's instead it's just like what works better is I just set up the laptop and I'm just going. But this past few months ago, I got a really nice organ and a Leslie,
Sweet.
and and that's all downstairs though. And I was like, all right, I'll hook it up, and I'll get an Ableton thing, and I got my APC-40, and I'll do beats, and I got the keyboards and all this stuff, and I got my guitar, and I'll just rip some incredible solos. I'm not very good guitar player, but it's all right. It doesn't mean I don't have fun, man. And yeah, that'd be really fun to do. But I just haven't like done that where it's all like there, you know, all in one like mass session. Maybe it's the same kind of thing where it's like, well, better to do. You know, if I'm not going to do that, then I should at least do, you know, a bunch of little just me playing the keyboard things like Jesse saw. You know, I'm playing some Bach and I'm just having a good jolly old time. A little jazz, some Phish.
Well, yeah, we did a couple live stream events and had some success with it. We did one with Marcy, and we had like a little fundraiser, which was cool. And yeah, we raised some money, and like Nate played a really awesome set, my other homie. It was like 45 minutes, and there was like some live painting and stuff like that. But it was kind of like an experiment just to see like what it's like to do that, you know. But I don't know if you're interested. Like, we should talk and like, I don't know, try to plan something that could be a live stream event. It could be a fundraiser. Could have an art breakout room. You can do a set. You know, maybe we get another friend of ours to play or something like that too. But like, my point is like, COVID sucks. Like, it's just like the shittiest thing that happened last year by far. But it has changed it and kind of presented all these different realities. Like, we had Zoom before this, and it's just like I never would have been like, Paul, let's like Zoom, you know, like. But now it's like it's kind of like it's almost normal. Like, everybody's Zooming all the time.
Everyone's doing it.
Everyone's doing it.
But yeah, I mean,
Twitch or Discord or whatever, you know, like all of the same streaming platforms.
yeah. No, it's better to, yeah, to like, you know, like adapt. Gotta, you know, just adapt to the reality of the situation. Just go with it.
Yeah.
Of course. So yeah,
We're creative people. That's what we do. That's what creativity is. You know, it's adapting,
absolutely,
shifting, moving.
Yeah, it's like no big deal. Okay, I can't play live. You know, I'll write some stuff. I'll practice. I'll practice. I'll practice the piano. Get real deep with it.
Yeah, get spiritual, man.
With WC, you can get real deep.
Oh yeah,
Just so in it. Like he makes the most like simple thing. Just so it just creates this whole like etheric space. And there's no other way to do it except just to get into that space and practice it really slowly and play it really slowly, and just to like each and every note is so on purpose. It's like watercolors. They like you drop one drop of paint in the water, it spreads everywhere. It's kind of the opposite of Bach. Bach's like, you know, 50 notes in a row, and it's just 5,000 notes in a row, and it's like it creates this tapestry through the sounds, through the notes themselves. Whereas Debussy, it creates the tapestry through like the silences kind of all blend with the sound. I don't know. It's more about the vibe. So yeah, I mean, you know, if it's time for everyone to just get inside and hunker down, that's good too. To like become monks and to like create something really deep inside ourselves at this point. That's like what's coming up. That's kind of what's going on with me. For me, you know, then that's cool. But I think maybe there could be too much of that also.
Right.
They become like suppression or repression or depression.
Yeah.
There's that too. So yeah. So that's why like just the other night it was like, okay, God damn it, I'm gonna just turn on the thing and I'm gonna play because I've been trying to get off of Facebook, but it's just like I just really want to just play and have people be experiencing that with me. I don't know, it was something very gratifying about that, and I just needed it. And I'm a person who, like, I often think to myself, I don't need people. I don't need people. I don't want people. People are problems. Basically, they are a problem. If you're a person, you probably are a problem in some way, shape, or form. Why should I want you? But regardless, you know, I'm somebody. I had my first girlfriend at the age of 33. You know, and you know, it's just there's just something deeper than what you think, and that's something I'm like going through now. It's like, oh wow, like you aren't what you like. I am not what I think I am, so to speak. Like, cause that's like, does that make sense? That's like a contradiction. That's like a computer thinking it is, like if it knows what it is, but it can only see what's inside the computer via its own programming. That is to say, thinking doesn't know being, like feeling. So I've been trying to like get more into feeling, you know, get into like going for walks, feeling my breath, like you were saying, meditating, you know, meditating every day, doing yoga. I started this thing last year on my birthday where I said, okay, I'm going to do 30 push-ups a day, no matter what, every day, 30 push-ups. And that's not a lot of push-ups. But it is consistency that is the important thing. And that's what's been like good for me. It's like the consistency. And I think that's if you want writer's block, or if you want to get rid of writer's block, or if you just want to like be a create. I think you said it, Aaron. Like like or I don't know who said it, but just there, you work through your bad ideas. Just work just but Neil Gaiman also says the same thing that what's his name you just mentioned before?
Seth Godin.
Seth Godin mentions, you have to, if you want to be a writer, you have to write. And this could go for musician or artist. And the second rule he has is you have to put out your work. You have to. You can't just write and just keep writing and keep keep writing. No, it's just as important to share the work. So that's why it's like yeah, I've been like going really deep and just like not really like sharing it much. But just the other night, I had like a volcanic desire just to find some way to share it right now. And luckily, yeah, there was the streaming, and people responded to it. I had like 6 people watching at once. It felt good. It felt like a lot of people, 6 people. But, I don't discount even one person sitting and like listening and watching. But the thing is, it definitely changes like how you're doing what you're doing, or like say me. It's like, oh, that completely changes the feel, and it makes you have to like concentrate more. It all just amps up the realness. I love it. Can just imagine what it's like to like play or in front of thousands of people, or to have your art seen by thousands or millions of people. It's just, and to like have them like on your, when you're creating something, it's like, oh, I know thousands of people are going to see this. It just really brings like a big, much higher level. But even a few people, it's very exciting. So yeah, you got to have that. And that's something I've been like not really facing or realizing until my ripe old age of 30. What am I now? 37? Better get on it. But it just feels so good to share it. That's maybe the best reason of all to do it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I feel like sharing, yeah, that's really, for me, that was, I have a lot of the same struggles, and I think, yeah, it's a really common thing, because I had this realization too, because I always will think of something and then just kind of not do it. Like, oh, I think of a really cool post, or I should post this, or I should improvise on top of this beat I made or something, and I'll kind of talk myself out of it. But I had this realization that I'm like hiding. There is this, I think I was reading something about like hiding does no one any good, and the fact that you're hiding because you think you're being selfish or this or that, but you're by being brave and putting your stuff out, it is generous. It is an act of generosity, and it's learning how to recognize that. And like I think me and Jesse were talking about this. Who's it, your friend Marcy, who had mentioned something about like if you're an artist, you have to create, like you have to tell people about it. You have to market it. You have to put it out and discuss it. And there's nothing that is selfish about that, even though like all of this conditioning has, at least for me, it feels very selfish to like hit people up and be like, hey, I'm putting music out. Hey, listen. Hey, check this out. Hey, share it. Like, tell me if you like it, comment. Doing those things, that is a generous act, and it may take time to find what resonates or what people really like, but that, doing it in public, I think, is really necessary now more than ever. But yeah, and the other thing too is like with Neil Gaiman, like there's another thing that he said too, where he's like, if he has a big thing, and a lot of novelists are really inspiring this way, where they say, just sit down and write. If you sat down and waited for inspiration or until you felt perfect about it, like you're never going to get anything done. And he's even said like, you have some days where you feel on it and some days where you don't, but at the end of the novel, you're like looking back and you don't even remember which passages you wrote during inspiration or just slogging, just putting words on the page. And you're like, this is great. Was I super inspired this day, or did I just write this on Tuesday? I don't know, And I think music is the same thing. Like you never truly know how a moment will resonate with the rest of your life or with your audience or anything like that, So put shit out. I mean, it's like, and especially when you're at the level that we're all at, where we're still kind of finding an audience. We don't already have a huge audience to lose. There's really nothing that can hurt, like data's cheap right now, so you can put out as many YouTube videos as you want and host them for free. So like there's really no problem with just putting it out there and learning as you go. Like each time, like what did I like about that? What didn't I like? It's that practice. I don't know. I used to hate the term practice because I felt like I don't know, maybe it was from growing up practicing and I just hated practicing as a kid, like, oh, I'm playing scales over and over. I want to play the cool shit. And so maybe I didn't like that term, like when whatever it is, like, oh, I'm going to put out a song every day as my practice, or I'm going to write, a thing, or I'm going to do 30 push-ups or whatever it is. But I think the older I get, the more I like that it is a practice. It is just small gains every single day. Like, can I put something out today? Can I make the world a little more interesting, beautiful, whatever, a little more peaceful through my art or my actions in general?
Absolutely. Jesse, you seem like you want to say something for a little while.
I was just
I'm dying to know what it is.
I was like inspired when he was bringing up what Marcy said the other day. She was like, if you're an artist, it's your job to share your work with people. Like that's your role. Like you're supposed to share it with them. Don't feel like it's egoic or anything like that, or like selfish or whatever. Like it's your job to share it with them. And then like for me, I've always hated like the idea of, I mean, people do whatever they want, but I've always been like, I'm not going to make like a website for like Jesse's paintings and like sell prints and like make like shirts and just like, just printify as many fucking burger shirts as you can. Like it just is like so not what I want to give people when they like see my art, like I want to give them like a feeling or like a emotion or like a thing that they'll just be like, oh fuck, an experience, So I have having more time lately to be painting and like being like, I want to take this seriously, but I don't want to do like the prints and the website thing. And like, you don't have a website for your work either, Paul. And so this is an interesting concept too, but bringing into play this new Oculus headset thing, and like now I'm like, oh dude, this is a really cool way to share art with people. For me, like there's so much more I can do with that, and it doesn't require a website, it doesn't require selling anybody anything. Like it's just like giving people the experience. And I feel like when you give people that experience, that's gonna like accelerate like your path creatively, like money and success. And like if you get to play really good gigs or you get like a good art show, like all of that I think is on the path, but like you need to like accelerate yourself down it. And you can't really do it maybe just with blind luck by holding it all in and somebody knows you're really talented, but like you got to put some of it out to like start accelerating yourself. So recently, like I just can't freaking stop talking about the headset, because it's like I'm like living in this VR world when I'm not like on the show or sleeping. But it's just been like a super cool way to like think about sharing it. Even that could be like in art in itself, like how you're going to share your work to somebody. So like like what's your plan? Like Paul, would you want to make like a website and like, or are you want to like, I don't know, how do you want to navigate that if you're going to talk about getting serious about sharing it for 2021?
Good. I feel like this is helping me more than you guys know. So like I'm not like a celebrity guest coming on. I'm like definitely a working man's guy here.
Pirate therapy is what we're doing here.
It's good. You could check on me later.
We will.
All right.
Crack the whip. I've got notes right here.
Good. I'm okay with that. All right. Well, that's a good question. How to like go public? Because that's how I feel. Those are like my big words for 2021 that I kept just coming back to me. How to do that? Good question. Don't know. Do you know?
I would say try several things, like what you have. Like you seem to be already on this 30-day tip, like you 30 push-ups for 30 days, or
do
like
30
write
things?
a song. Yeah, try something. Do like for a while. One thing that I like about like Instagram, and you could do it with Snapchat, but I like the stories because it's like it doesn't stay up there. Oftentimes, like if I want to put out a song or beat or something, like maybe later I'll be like, that doesn't really fit my brand or my aesthetic or blah 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 blah. So one thing I like, especially with little improv things or something, is like you could just put a story like, hey, check it out. I'm jamming on the piano, or a live stream or whatever. Like every day or every week or something like that at this time I'm going to do a live stream. Tune in if you want, and just kind of like release expectations, because what you're focusing on is building into your habit the idea of putting something out, the confidence to put something out. And so don't worry about the reception. And then once you feel confident that you're like, okay, I put things out, I finish things and I ship them, then you can start worrying about like, okay, how do I market myself better? How do I more clearly tell people about what I'm doing? So like I think the thing that we get worried about too often is like, I need 1 million followers, I've been putting something out, like last year. This is a lot of what I was doing with my new year kind of planning and review of last year. Like I was putting out a beat on YouTube every day for like a solid month, maybe a little bit longer. I put out 100 beats, 100 YouTube videos last year. And, I was trying to sell beats ostensibly and stuff. And I got about like 85, I got 90 followers now on my YouTube channel there, which is nothing to, nothing to beat myself up over. But, I was of course thinking like, I want 1,000, and I think the reception was, so I had to deal with kind of being disappointed in that reception. But I think is like what was more important for me is just putting it out. And also learning to separate. I think this is good for like those of us in that kind of like with a Buddhist mentality or something, is like learning to separate the outcomes from the inputs. Like Duncan Trussell has this thing he always talks about that he got from, I guess, the Bhagavad Gita, where he says like Shiva comes to Arjuna or something. I forget who's talking. Not Shiva, the other guy. Anyways,
Krishna.
Hindu god was it?
Krishna.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so he comes to Arjuna and he says, you have power over what you put in, but you do not have control over what you get out. So don't worry if like you don't get 1 million followers ever. Just think about your intention in how you work with it. You don't get to decide the external factors, which I think is important in general, like over your creative life. It's like if you're constantly validated by external things, then you're going to be controlled. Like, you'll get some attention. Maybe a manager will show up and this manager will fluff your ego up and be like, you're so amazing. And then down the line, your manager tells you to make certain decisions and you don't think about them and you end up screwing yourself over, losing yourself a bunch of money or whatever, or taking just bad advice. And then when the manager like gets pissed off and, or whatever, that's just it could be any external thing. And I think as artists, a lot of us, we got into it. Like I know personally, I started getting into music probably because I got a lot of love from my family, from having a natural talent at music. And I think a lot of musicians can identify with that. We do it because, our dad told, my mom loved it when I would sing or play the piano or something. And so I just kept going with that, and I got attention from people because I play music. And then you get to a point where you're like, why am I doing this? I'm doing this so people will love me. And it's like, well, that's not why you should be doing music. You should be doing whatever it is, music, art, whatever your job is, because it speaks to you and it fulfills you. And so a lot of my journey has been trying to get deep into that part. And so I think it's like having a practice like this where you're putting something out is really an internal work. It's like, okay, why am I doing this? What am I really trying to do? And noticing those desires of like, man, I really wish I had more followers. I really wish I had more of this. And doing the digging of like, why is it that I want followers? Because there's nothing wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting the most amount of followers or the biggest circle of influence, but understanding what it is. Because I've started to notice that there is like this idea of hiding, that even though I want a huge audience and I want to make, a lot of money from my art and my endeavors, I think there is a fear of, and, a desire to hide and cover myself up, that is subconscious, that is holding me back. It's the thing that keeps me from posting regularly or talking to people or making time to work on music and do other things. Sometimes you have to sacrifice, like, no, I'm not going to hang out and play video games with my friends. I'm going to like go upstairs and finish up a song and post it or something like that. Doing the dumb part. Posting sucks because it takes a lot of extra time that you don't really like, making a video or, entering the metadata and stuff like that, but you push yourself through that. It's kind of the vagaries of any kind of practice, brings with it. But, I think it's good it's to internalize those sorts of things. I don't know. Do you identify with any of that stuff, Paul?
Yeah. A quote from Jesus from the Gospel of Thomas came to me when you were talking about that.
Oh yeah.
Bring forth what is within. Wait. Here it goes. If you bring forth what is within you will save you. If you withhold what is within you will destroy you.
Holy shit.
And I feel that's very accurate. That sharing, really sharing with people, not just like making something on my own, but really actually getting it to the people, that like saves me. It like somehow saves my soul. There's something like really connecting and great about that. And then when I don't, it really like hurts. It can be physical. It could be, and then it becomes depressing and it's destructive. And I used to be very depressed, and that was, I could see now. It was like just not connecting with anybody and not connecting with anything, just isolation, ice. So yeah, absolutely. And who cares about the output? The best reason to do it is that if anything. That's the only. I mean, I work with a spiritual teacher. I mean, I go to his classes and I go to his retreats and stuff. And I've been going to his retreats since 2005. And he is one of the most. He says he's enlightened, right? First of all, he says he got enlightened on a specific day and time, the year 2000, June 19th at 5 a.m. It's like, yep, it's very obvious. I became enlightened at that exact time. He knows it. He's enlightened now. This is how. Then he's been teaching since then. Okay, 20 and a half years. And I worked at Omega and I did sound for 6 years for Adyashanti, Eckhart Tolle, Byron Katie, yada yada. You keep going on the list. John Kabat-Zinn is a personal friend of mine. We just go down the list, right, Jesse? We've seen it all.
Yeah.
We've seen them all, and then we see him again next year, and then we see him again next year. Every spiritual teacher, and this guy, he consistently has 20 to 25 people at his classes every week. No more, no less. Consistently, and it's. I made it like a basically like a commitment to attend everything, starting last year. I quit all alcohol. I quit any drug use. I quit. I quit caffeine. I have a list now. Chocolate, basically, I don't eat any chocolate. I mean, it goes on and on and on, right? Trying to clean up my life and stuff. And I find his teaching to be very, very helpful. And I know it touches a lot of people. I know that even though none of my family have ever gone to their class, I know it's positively affecting them because it's affecting me. I almost could see it in my family, just like ever since I started to get into it. It's like, things have really kind of settled down here. I don't know what. And it could be other things. There are probably many things, but it's connected to everything, of course. What, and the fact that he doesn't have a book, he doesn't have he has a website, but he doesn't have, like I said, you only get, it's not like thousands of people. Like you go to see Eckhart Tolle, there's like 600 people, and they're all pissed at the other people there because they're all in each other's way to go up and ask Eckhart a question. They all want to go ask Eckhart the dumbest question, and we have to record it and film it. Right, Jesse?
Yeah.
The dumbest questions. So anyway, it's just, um and I know that I'm just saying that as a joke, I mean, there's great connections too, but like, I know that there's a lot of good that like big people are doing big things. Michael Jordan is inspiring a lot of kids to play basketball and stuff. Great. He's also inspiring kids to go to McDonald's and eat McJordan meals. So
And wear underwear.
yeah, and buy shoes.
I think the ultimate point though of this conversation is like, it's like Jordan didn't like get to pick that he was Michael Jordan. Like there's probably like 5 or 6 other people right on the same level of his skill set and stuff. Like, I mean, same with like somebody that's a rock star. Like there's so and so in this band, but like there's also other guitarists that are just like closet brilliant people, and they just like didn't get picked for whatever reason. They're not as marketable, or like there's so many factors that we can't really control, and like I just don't think that's a good reason to like let it affect you how you're going to make your work, or or to even make work because you think it's going to lead you to success even.
No, absolutely not. And on the contrary, like this teacher that I go to, he's very happy to only have some people to work with. It's very manageable, and he treats it like it's a. I mean, he treats it like absolutely like it's the most important thing in the world. To him, it is. What he's doing is absolutely a mission. It's absolutely, he's on fire with it, And I've known him for over 15 years. I know this for a fact. Spent a lot of time with him, and so that to me is like the essence of it. It's like to better. There's that like phrase. This might be. Is this insensitive? Okay, so like there's this phrase, Native American, white man make big fire, stay far away, be very cold. Red man make small fire, get close, stay warm. Okay, that's totally insensitive. I'm gonna get in trouble for that. But I have a friend who's Native American. She's gonna. I don't think she'll care. But
was cool, isn't it?
she's cool. Probably, hopefully, cool with it. But anyway, she's from the Seminoles. They don't need fire. It's too warm down there. But Florida. But anyway, point is I think that's this concept of things must be big to be good is at the heart and soul of the soulless consumer pop kind of corporate thing. It's the exact thing that we should be antithetical to as independent real artists.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be like, great, I sold 5 paintings this year, but they were really good paintings and the people really liked them, and they really on point. I made one really good soup, just quality. But not letting that be like, I'm not going to do. No, I'm going to wait till it's perfect and then put it out. It's like, no, put it out still.
Yeah. I feel like that's such a good thing for me to keep remembering, and really inspiring to hear about that guy, because it's like it's so true, and a big part of my journey has been like surrendering my notions of what success looks like. And really, I think last year I usually give my years a theme. Like when I turned 30, I was like, this is the year of surrender for me. I want to learn. I had read this book called the Surrender Experiment by this guy Michael Singer. I don't know if he's ever given a talk at the Omega Institute, but he talked about how he started meditating and he made a commitment to just surrender to the moment and do whatever it seemed that life was leading him towards, and to let go of what he thought. And I think it's so profound, because I have found that by letting go of those traditional notions of like success, like, you got the Spotify and all of the, the million plays, and you're playing, the biggest stadiums, and you're winning all the awards and all of that shit. Like, it doesn't just exist in a vacuum. There's a lot of bullshit that comes with it, and you don't see the whole picture from your vantage point. But it's almost this like trust, and it takes a lot of faith and a lot of work to get there. But when you surrender and you let life lead you to the actual vision of success that fits you, it doesn't feel bad. It feels good. And so like, this guy, I don't know what his history, but if he ever had wanted to be some sort of meditation teacher or spiritual teacher, it's very natural that he probably would have assumed to be someone huge like a Tolle or something. But when he finally got there, he's like, just my small community is what I want, and this feels right, and it feels right to him now. And I think even like Adyashanti's journey too, because he said a similar thing about like he didn't even want to get bigger. And I think you hear this from a lot of the teachers who have the biggest followings, is that they really relish their small community, and then little by little it builds, and they didn't necessarily, that for some of them it was challenging to even want to expand from their small group of followers. But I think it's like, yeah, just learning to be, what is life showing you now, and how is that actually perfect for you in this moment, and relinquishing the external factors. That's such a that big fire little fire thing is such a great metaphor that I want to try to remember that, because it totally makes sense.
I mean, I've heard that somewhere at a campfire. I just realized we're live on Facebook, so now I'm like, oh man, Paul.
I don't really think it was your intent was racist with it, but yeah, I and you could probably in the future tell it in a different way,
Yeah, I could.
but yeah, I think we're fine.
Deplatform your Facebook.
You have no career now.
No.
So, well, can we say your teacher's name, Paul, or is it?
Yeah, Dave Oshana.
What? Who's it?
Sorry, I interrupt you. Dave Oshana.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He's from London originally, and he got enlightened, so he says. What is that anyway? In the year 2000, and he moved to Finland a couple years after that. He's been living in Finland ever since. So I've been to Finland now 4 different times to see him.
No shit.
Yeah, 4 different retreats that I've gone to, and Finland's great. I've been there twice in the middle of summer and twice in the middle of the winter. They have this extreme, it'll be either light or dark for 18 hours a day.
Wow.
But and he does an online class every week, on his website. It's a Zoom these days, just a Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, it's he says that he actually doesn't, he doesn't accept anybody who wants to sign up. He just the people who really want to be there, who he really feels should be there. So the classes are rarely. It's odd how they're always 20 to 25 people, just. And last week, there was only 5 or 6 people who are regulars like me at this point. I'm a regular. There's a lot of new people, so there's kind of, but I know the point is I know Dave is really delivering what he feels to be his real true essential message, and he's very, and the fact that it's only going to some people doesn't mean it's not going to everyone, actually. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we don't know what kind of ripples we put out are going to do. Of course we can't know that. That's like you just said, you can't Arjuna, you can't know the outcome. You must ride the chariot and kill these people over there. I actually just read the Bhagavad Gita this year. I was like, okay, that's pretty weird story.
Yeah.
Because it's like a family squabble. There's 2 different families or villages kind of. But you gotta stick your oar in and row. You gotta do something. And that's see, I think for me, I had this idea coming out of college. I read all these. I literally would fill my backpack, with spiritual books at the end of college. And because I just discovered Alan Watts one day, I was like, oh, that's it for me. And then I started just meditating. I'm 22 years old. I should be riding motorcycles and mountain climbing. I'm like, no, I'll just sit here. I remember just sitting on my front porch at college. This is right after I graduated college. I'm 22. Just watching flies crawl over my skin. Just allowing them to slowly crawl over my skin. I mean, because, and when I finished college, I moved home. Ugh. And my dad's like, so you're going to get a job? I'm like, I am not my body. I'm my mind. I mean, he's like, and my dad's not going along with this program at all. Oh my
You
God.
should have been like, well, chop some wood and carry some water, man.
Yeah, right. Did you get to that chapter yet, dork?
Yeah.
So I think I've been on a weird path of just a lot of self doubt and a lot of depression and a lot of this and that, blah 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 blah. And I think that's okay, because maybe I could help others at this point. um,
Dude, I also like age like has been such a struggle for me. Like just because
Wait, how old are you?
well, because like as I grew up, I always kind of, I don't know, I had this identity of like I want to be this kind of wunderkind of sorts, or like, and you start to look at the people that you admire, and okay, when they were, oh, they came out with their first album when they were 19, or you get the 27 Club, Jimi Hendrix and all these people, like they were 27, they achieved all of this shit and died early, and especially like when you hit 27, everyone thinks about that. They're like, oh, okay, Jimi Hendrix was 20, like he died and had already changed the face of rock and roll as we know it. And so, and it's really easy to kind of get down on yourself. Like, I'm not where I need to be. I need to be bigger, better, achieve more, and it's so hard to stop comparing yourself to everyone else. But I keep holding, like, and that's the lesson that keeps getting hammered into my head is like, your journey is not their journey. Like like if you see someone else who's accomplishing, there are even spiritual teachers right now who are in their 20s and stuff, and like who have huge followings and seem to be pretty fucking smart and enlightened in their own ways. And it's like, it's not for me to decide what my journey is and how long it takes me. Like there are definitely, I mean, you bring up Eckhart Tolle, he was in his, like, I think he was in his late 30s or 40s by the time he had a big spiritual realization. There's really just some of my favorite writers, like Henry Miller. He didn't even start writing until he was 39. He had just always thought about it and never did it. And so it's like the age is such a dumb factor to get hung up on. And I still get it. Like, but it's so important to let go of that and trust what you need to learn. And I feel like the more I let go of my age and I need to be, I need to accomplish certain thing by a certain age or by a certain day or something like that. When I release that, things tend to work out just a little bit better. They're a little bit smoother. I'm not as worried, and I'm more able to enjoy the journey. Because when there's this clock ticking, you're like, oh, dude, you're 30 now. Gotta get serious. Oh, you're 31. Like, time is ticking. You need to get on it. You're not gonna stay young. You can't be the hot young artist forever. And it's like, maybe that's not who I am. That's not what I'm here to do. And it is a tough realization to like let go of that identity and to be like, no, what you are is just what you are, and it takes however long, and whatever you are will feel right. And that's the thing that I keep trying, like, reminding myself that, just because some dude comes out and is like knocking it out of the park, making classic albums when they're 21 and have this career and stuff, you don't know what their inner life is like. Some of these people, I learn about what they're actually like through interviews, and they're like, yeah, I'm depressed. I don't leave my house. Like, I just sit at home and I write music, and that's the only thing I do. And I'm like, I definitely, like, I go out and I have friends and I have a community. And when I really look around, I'm like, I have so much to be grateful for, and I'm just ignoring all of it because I think I should be famous by now. It's that weird thing because it's totally external. Like, fame overall, when you think about it, brings a lot more bullshit than it really gives you in general. And that's something to remember and to remind yourself of when you're in those throws, that it's just these external sources trying to tell you who you're supposed to be. And it's like, no, who you are is where you are right now and whatever you're dealing with. And just own it,
It again makes me think of Jesus, what you're saying. So Jesus is in the desert. The devil comes to tempt him. It's like, you could be the most powerful man in the world. You can have all of this. And he's like, nah, good. I'll be poor. I'll get a bunch of I'll get 12 illiterate dudes, hang out with a bunch of dudes. No women. Okay, one or two. They're all named Mary for some
They
reason.
redacted it. Yeah, it's
Like my and I'll just I'll just do my thing and yeah, I'll probably get crucified. And but hey, he did it when he's young. Oh,
he
but
was
anyway,
30. Yeah.
30. But anyway,
I want to kind of follow that thread. I really love you bringing Jesus up, in these quotes. Because I grew up super Christian, and so in a way, I've kind of like blocked a lot of that out. I'm like, I don't care about whatever Jesus says. I want to hear Buddha. I want to hear, Krishna. I want to hear all of that stuff, or the weird esoteric, occult shit. But I think it's really fascinating that you have quoted Jesus in some really, really interesting ways, not just about like how gay people should burn in hell or something.
you shouldn't touch your own penis. That'd be
don't touch your penis. Jesus said it in this over here. He gave a whole sermon on penis touching. but I'm curious. What is your relationship to Christianity and Jesus? Did you grow up with that in there, or have you revisited it as you've gotten older?
Sermon on the Mounted. Yeah, I went to Catholic school, 12 years, including four years of all boys. I almost said 4 boys for all years. Anyway, and yeah, I went to Catholic school. There was actually a moment where I would call myself a born again evangelical, and that happened in high school. Actually, it happened on accident because I actually had a transcendental awakening on accident. I actually did. Now that I look back, and I was like, oh, I totally just had it when I was 16 or 17. Absolutely transcendental awakening beyond the self, beyond like knowing that well, I don't know. We don't need to go into it, but it was a very obvious transcendental awakening, and I can verify it because I've had others. And I was like, oh yeah, that's what that was. But but it's sort of like. It because my mind was so conditioned by religion. I remember sitting in the religion class like the next morning, and being like, I literally had my first period class in high school was religion, and I would just sit there, and it all sort of became cloaked. I felt that whole awakening, which was like a seeing beyond the self, that lasted for like a good while, a few days. That all became, as it sort of went away, became sort of cloaked in religiosity, and but there's this urgency to it, like because it was like, wow, I've had this big thing happen, and so I was like, well, I got to go. This is clearly like a Christian thing, and so I for some reason I got really into evangelicalism. I think I read some stuff on the internet, and I like committed myself to Jesus and all this stuff, and it got real weird because I was still playing in a jam band. And so they're like, what are you talking about? And I'd be like evangelicalizing to my, we're playing like, Grateful Dead and Phish and Allman Brothers. And I'm like talking about the end times and, whatever stuff evangelicals talk about. So and then I was like, clearly wrestling with something. And it wasn't until I discovered Alan Watts, actually, Aaron, that where he really made sense to me, because he actually was a priest.
Yeah,
actually a minister, but he was in the Anglican church, right? And he same kind of thing where he like awoke out of it. And then Anthony DeMello, you ever hear of him?
I haven't.
He's great to sit down and watch some YouTube videos with Anthony DeMello. He's somebody that Adyashanti talks about sometimes. Very bright guy, but he was a priest that had like a really strong awakening, like an enlightenment. And so eventually I put it all together as like, especially Osho, reading Osho books and stuff. Have you ever read Osho books?
A little bit. I've been getting into him a little bit recently.
Okay. Don't hear don't believe everything you hear from that documentary, but, I actually know some of those people from that ranch. Yeah. But anyway, but I found the teachings of Osho to be very liberating and illuminating. And the thing is he actually has several books about Jesus, where he actually goes into the Gospel of Thomas and other things from Jesus' life and whatnot. I found what Osho said about Jesus. Here's this Indian guru. I found what he had to say was more clear and wise than anything I'd heard in Catholic school from the age of whenever on. Actually, can I tell you my first memory of being in church when I was a kid? I was
Sure.
3 years old. So this is quote from this quote from the Gospels, and it's like, I don't know who's saying what to who, but it's like, so here's the thing. Okay, I'm a little kid. I'm like 3. And I remember just being like, I remember because I was fascinated with knowing I was 3, because I was like 1, 2, 3. Like I remember sitting on the toilet and being like, I'm 3. Okay, anyway, just that was that 3. Okay, so I'm looking out. I couldn't see because I'm 3. Oh, that's a song. And there's these big people in front of me because everyone's big when you're a kid, and I couldn't see the priest. I didn't see what's happening. So, but I'm at the end of the aisle, so I reach my head into the aisle like this, and I'm like poking my head out the aisle. I can imagine that, like a little kid, the only kid, and all of a sudden the priest says this: "If you cannot see, open your eyes and see." Like it just happened to synchronize with this moment in some like reading. I didn't know, I should know what it is, and it was like, oh, and I just like pulled my head back in slowly, right? And it's like, I don't know why I brought that up, but it was just like, I always felt that like, there wasn't anything like there wasn't anything really helpful in Catholic, in any of that Catholic stuff that I got. I didn't, but I will say this: when I was in high school, I read the Bible. And it wasn't that there was a specific teaching in there that got me, but there was a vibration that I felt in my body, literally felt it. And I felt it was very wholesome, that it was like plugging up like all sorts, it was like patching me up in some way. And when I would meditate on the word God, on just the word, it would take me into this really deep like state. And just it was like beyond all knowing. It was like this sense that like of the incredible mystery of being, just purely beyond all knowing. And I just thought that was really fascinating. And so when I like read Osho and I found out, oh, there's this guy Osho and there's this guy Buddha who got enlightened. Osho got enlightened. Buddha got enlightened. Then it just kept, it's like, oh, Jesus was an enlightened person. Like that became my new kind of like mental fixture. And that might also be like a false mental fixture. No problem. I'm okay with that. But that really helped me out. Then when then I was like cool with everything Jesus said. It was like, oh, cool. Jesus is saying really great stuff. And really wise things, really helpful. And I honestly, I'm blown away at some of the stuff that Jesus said. I just think he was extremely wise and ascetic person for that time. Profound influence. But am I a Catholic? No, I'm not. No. But I will go to church and I will eat the wafer just so my mom doesn't feel bad. But you know what I'm saying? But so I feel really lucky that I found all that there was like, there were people like Alan Watts and people like that who like left a trail of breadcrumbs. Because I think if you have been raised in like a Christian society and stuff, if you can find people like that, then you can go back to enjoying, really literally just enjoying the teachings of Jesus and not feeling like you have to go along with the teachings of the evangelicals, because I think the evangelicals are a dangerous cult. It's my opinion. Yeah. And I know that as somebody who was kind of in it for a while. Because they say that in order to become to be saved, all you have to do is say a prayer, is turn your heart over to Jesus. And even if you're a sinner, the blood of Christ has washed away your sins. Well, what does that say about like responsibility?
Yeah, it's also like a second, was it a double standard? Because they preach all this forgiveness, and then when it comes time to actually forgive, they don't want to do it. It's like, sure, you have this code of, like this unspoken code of ethics now that's underneath it. So you're forgiven and all of that stuff, but then if you drink alcohol or you're gay or you do this or you do that, you have sex before marriage or whatever, you're going to hell. So you like, it's this weird kind of backwards thing. All you have to do is believe, and then once you believe, you got to completely change everything about your lifestyle and completely fit into this one lifestyle has that we just decided that's not written in the Bible for sure. They kind of it's just made up, through years of it's a different kind of cultural thing, which yeah.
Yeah. So to be able to be someone who can, there's this idea of transcend and include. Ever heard this concept?
Yeah, that's what's his name? I can't remember. Yeah, I've heard the theory. I can't. The guy's name is escaping me right now. But
Ben
yeah,
Filbert. No, I mean Ken Wilber. Sorry.
Ken Wilber. That's it. Yeah.
So yeah. So this idea that you're like the path of, so there's to bypass things, that's where you're transcending but not including what you have come before. So I think it's very important to integrate. It's integral theory is where he comes from. So to integrate all your parts. So my thought when I first got into spirituality and into like music, like when I really start was like, I need to like go up the ladder as fast as I can, so to speak. And I found myself getting really thinned out, if that makes sense. I found eventually I was stretched. And it was like, oh, I'm totally not connected to my roots. And my roots are, hey, I'm like, well, there's a lot of roots, but I did go to Catholic school and stuff. And that's all right. I felt like to just cut myself off from all of that was not good. And so, yeah, so to be able to like be like, yes, I went to Catholic school. Yes, I've read the Bible. Yes, I'm glad I'm glad I know some of the stuff from the Bible. I'm okay with it. Yes, I love Jesus and Jesus loves me. Like that's all right. But, don't fuck with me because, I'm not maybe as nice as him. You know what I mean? Like I'm my own person. But I'm just saying that there's this like you said, you end up being what you are, instead of trying to be somebody else or something else. Very much, I think it's very much. If there is a movement that I'd like to be a part of, is just the coming home to oneself, and then living as that self, even if I'm just a guy in a very unknown. If I'm very unknown, I'm very satisfied and happy. That's way better than being very known and very unsatisfied, very unhappy. That's the Kanye West went to high school across the street from where I grew up, from my home in Chicago, across the street.
That's cool.
Literally, either high school across the street. That's where Kanye West went to high school. Oh yeah.
Shout out Kanye.
Yo, Kanye.
Yeah, if you're listening, Kanye.
And I like Kanye's music. I think I personally observe an unhappy person when I see Kanye West. That's what I observe.
So, okay, I really like Kanye West as well, for many different reasons. I just think he's like such a mold breaker, and I think he just has like undeniable confidence, like second to, I don't know, maybe like Donald Trump, literally. Like there's not that many people that are that confident.
Yeah.
But also how he speaks about like having mental health issues, and like not saying that he's like cured himself, but saying that he goes up and down and makes albums about it. But then his latest album was it was kind of like a gospel album. Did you hear any of that stuff?
I haven't heard it yet.
Oh, okay. Well, there's literally like gospel music with choir on it. Nice. And I think it's beautiful. I think it's really, really great. And I went to Christian school, private school, till like 5th grade, and we had chapel once a week. So we'd all go in there, we all be singing with people playing music, and I used to love it. I thought it was great. Like it was very uplifting to like sing songs about praising God, praising Jesus, whatever. But then we left, and when we went to public school, all the public school kids were like, oh, you like Jesus, that's about like all the stuff with the priests, and filled me in about why Jesus isn't cool to like, and so from then on I kind of just was like, okay, there's Jesus, and I went to that school and I never really thought about it. But as you said, as I got older, more and more people would talk about it, and I was turned off. And it wasn't until I got a commission as a painting, and somebody had commissioned me to paint this experience they had that was a high experience in Christianity, and they had written this whole description, and I was really struggling with this painting. And it wasn't until somebody was like, hey, you have a Jesus thing, like you have an anti-Jesus thing, and basically broke it down like he's just another enlightened dude. And it wasn't until I like came full circle to be like, oh my God, I've hated Jesus and like not been able to hear any of the goodness in the Bible. You know, there's good work in there, just like there is in any religion. Um, and then like coming full circle to realize that I had like this whole wall up against that it was really humbling. And now I can see it in other people when they get really turned off by Jesus. So with this Kanye West album, you know, like I thought it was really cool that he put it out and he's doing this choir stuff, but I've shared it with certain friends of mine that have been like, oh, that's gospel music. I'm immediately against it, you know? And it's just like, like there's a serious blockage there for what reason? You know, I mean, I guess like you can have your own opinion about Christianity and the Catholic religion as a whole, but yeah, I don't know that it's like, I don't know that it's like as people like, you know, even like you're describing it, Aaron, like, okay, if you go to this church, like, do you necessarily have to like fit into all those things? I mean, it's like, I think it's people that are like making an effort to live a good life in a community. You know, like, I don't know that every single one of them was like not had sex before marriage or like didn't drink alcohol or didn't like live their life just because they go to a certain church.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely all of the external cultural stuff. Because, you know, if you think about it, like when you really get it, I'm actually really fascinated with the actual history of Christianity and how it like kind of started and the real documents that we have. Because it's like Catholicism, which is was Christianity, all of it for a very long time, is really not similar. It's more similar to Rome, like in the Roman religions, than it is towards whatever Jesus would have actually been practicing or the early Christians would have actually been doing. It's very different. And Christianity is like that. Evangelicals, like, that's a very different culture than Christianity, because a lot, you know, it was just different people who were not Roman, you know, like the Lutherans, like they turned it into whatever their kind of Germanic culture would have appreciated more than a Roman, you know, resplendent Roman culture. And same when a lot of the American Protestant churches sprang up and started adding their own cultures to it. And it's really just like you have a base set of kind of scriptures that people interpret in all of these different ways, and it's all based on different translations and stuff. And you see it, you know, you see the same thing with Buddhism and Hinduism. Like there's still just all of these different sects who believe all these different things and different ways that you're supposed to live, and they call it spiritual, but it's really just different moral codes that they created to exist in their own time and place. And they're trying to extend those to different times and places where they don't necessarily fit, you know? And so I think like there is a lot of wisdom in Jesus, but we get turned off by the other cultural things that we attach onto it. And so the original messages have been lost. And I think, I don't know, it really hit me hard, like what you're saying, Paul, about like transcend and include, because I think a lot of us who were raised, like I was raised evangelical, I was raised Southern Baptist. And so a lot of people in America who were raised like that, and we kind of find that we didn't fit in or it didn't quite encompass, you know, like for me, it was like I had a lot of other questions that evangelicals didn't answer, you know, or didn't want to. And so like I kind of move away from it, and we do come away with this just bad taste in our mouth, and we want to cast it away and destroy it all. But at the end of the day, like any kind of Buddhism or any kind of Eastern religions, like spiritual teachings, they were designed and written for people from those cultures. And the thing is that we all come from, like at least the three of us, come from a more European style culture. And so it is important for us to kind of integrate those things and be like, oh, you know what Buddha was saying here, or what these Zen monks were saying here, or, you know, these various different culture, you know, wisdom traditions around the world. Like I'll take some of those things, and then I'll also take the rituals and the wisdom from my tradition, that I can frame it and understand that it's kind of all saying the same shit, you know, and to integrate things. That's why I'm like really fascinated by you including like quotes from Jesus and stuff, because it's also a way that I can open up boundaries to, like, say, my family, who is still very Christian, and believes, a very hardline Southern Baptist thing. It's like, if I can bring a quote and be like, Buddha said this, but Jesus said this, and they're really not against each other, and like, you go back and Jesus, there's remarkably little things that Jesus himself actually said about what your lifestyle should be. And like the craziest thing for me was like Jesus hung out with prostitutes and tax collectors and shit. Like, which of you are hanging out with prostitutes? Like, like that doesn't seem very Jesus-like to me. You like preach about being like Jesus, and it's like, do you hang out with drug dealers and prostitutes or anything? But and I think even going back like to Kanye, like I heard someone describing it. It might have been on like a podcast. They were describing like he's making church cool again. And I think that there was a time when religious music, it's been like for instance, Bach wrote religious music. All of his music was written for religious services, and in name, at least in the name of God, for praising God and praising Jesus. And I think there was a time when religious music was about trying to get to that like transcendent, sublime experience of, like, oh my God, that's why the cathedrals were built, so that you had these like reverberations that you never would have heard in any other way unless you went found like some giant cavern. It felt mystical. It felt transcendental. You were just, the beauty of the statues and the glass and everything was designed to just be like, oh my God, I'm having a transcendental moment, leaving my body and experiencing something greater. And a lot of that has been lost. For me, what made me sort of really drift was the music. Like the music of Christian music that I grew up with was so bland and had no... this was the emotion, you stick, oh, Jesus Christ, and stick your hands in the air and just, I'm feeling it, someone might stand up. That was the most, ecstatic anyone would get. And like, I wanted that ecstatic experience. I still crave it. I still want that, like, oh, I'm losing my shit. And, we've all been to Phish shows. To me, that feels just as religious in its own kind of way. Like, I can just remember moments at a Phish show, like the lights are going and they're in some crazy jam, and me and my best friend are sitting there just screaming like, oh shit, ah! There's no words for what is going on. And to me, it's like to me, religion is just about taking those ecstatic, non-ordinary experiences and trying to create a framework so that you can interact with the world after those and with those in reality. It's like, how do we integrate that? And so to me, it's like any kind of religion has to include that pursuit of the ecstatic in some way. And it's important not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, that they're all based on some sort of wisdom thing that gave people an ecstatic experience. And we're all really just kind of chasing that and trying to ride that wave towards whatever ends, we don't know.
Yeah, you got to throw in that bathwater and get to the delicious baby inside.
Yeah. Get rid of that bathwater. Oh man,
baby.
Bathtub gin.
Baby Jesus. Yeah, but...
Yeah, since we're all at Phish, I don't think we talked about Phish the last time we had another Phish head on. Like, how did we all like? Does any of that factor in? Like, because like jam bands to me does have a very religious aspect. It's really like people go to these concerts and just like, I'm ready. Take me there. Do you guys identify with that?
Oh, for sure. Definitely, I think maybe not. I wouldn't say every single Phish show that I've been to has like gotten me to that space, but
sure.
I could probably count at least 4 to 5 experiences that are just like kind of like what you're saying, Paul, like when you stuck your head out in the aisle in church and it just was like everything synced up and it was just like, like it's like the special meteor on Tony Hawk Pro Skaters is going and you're just like, or you're like just DDR and it's just like, excellent, like you're ridiculous. You're just like hitting every single thing perfectly. And it's just like, keep going, And that type of shit, I just think is like, that has to be what it's like to, have a high, it is what it's like to have a high experience, whether that's through religion, you can do that through meditation or yoga, you can do that through sex, you can do it through drugs, you can do it through art and music. And I think it's all kind of the same chord. I mean, granted, if you're like in the pit at a Phish show up that's next to some wook and there's like some girl with armpit hair down to here next to you, that's going to have a different feel than like, going to a mosque or something like that. You know what I mean? But like, I do think it's like, you're able to, it's just like a different avenue, and like, I've never been one of those people that's satisfied, like going like, I have to go to every single Phish show because this is my avenue and I'm dedicated. Like I've always liked to spread it out and like sometimes check out a yoga class, sometimes check out different things. And that's kind of helped me be more well-rounded. But I definitely think it's like an avenue to get you to that righteous place. Or I don't know. What do you think, Paul? Paul, I mean, the couple shows I've been to with you, you go nuts at the Phish shows for sure.
Yeah. If somehow it like you said, it's sort of like brings me to like a happy place. And when you're talking just now, it made me realize that like, what I feel like what the ultimate art would be like the art of living. So like instead of being like, oh, I make I'm miserable for 6 hours of the day, and then I make my happy art, and then I'm miserable again, and then I go sleep, But it's like, oh, the art of waking up in the morning. Like, oh boy, what am I gonna do today? I'm gonna write my journal, and I'll get my day ready. Oh boy, and I'll make a smoothie. Yum yum. Just to live that way, like so that every single thing is an art. I think that's the ultimate thing. And when I go to the Phish shows, it kind of reminds me of that, because it's like, look, driving to the show is part of it, right? That's the thing about Phish shows people don't get, is like it's all part of the show. Like driving to the show with your friends, that's part of it. Getting lost on the way, that's part of it. That sucks when that's happened to me. One time my friend's car broke down, so we had to have his mom drive us to Wisconsin. His mom waited for us in the parking lot the whole time.
What an angel.
Just doing so many whippets.
Oh yeah, she was like, "You boys go have fun." She's got like a bong. And anyway,
because like sometimes you don't get a ticket to the show, and you're like, all right, I guess I'll just hang out in the lot, and you're having a better time than your friends did inside the show,
Yeah. Oh, this one time at SPAC, I didn't have a ticket, and ended up in the pouring rain sneaking into the show, and that was more fun than anything. That was so anyway. So there's something about the Phish community and the Phish like vibe there. And the music and the concerts, but the whole like thing becomes, it's all part of it. And I think, for me, that reminds me of like, oh yeah, like, it like can it can stick around for a few days. And I think that's the essence of it. I remember being, my first Phish show was 1998. I was 15. My dad had to drive us. This is in Chicago, UIC Pavilion. And yeah, my dad drove us, and my dad picked us up, and we were sophomores in high school. But like, it was just like the park, just the lot itself, just going to the parking lot was so exciting, and just like see all the people and meeting all the people and stuff. Like that is like, you don't get that at any other, like, well, maybe some other shows, but a lot of other shows. Like Counting Crows, I don't know if they have that kind of scene there or something.
No.
I'm not trying to, by the way, I wasn't trying to bash Kanye and at all. I don't even want to bring up Kanye. I'm just saying he's somebody who got really popular, and I see him kind of like lashing out a lot. I'm like, why is he lashing out? I just wanted to track back on that. But yeah, so for me, like Phish is like a really, just a, like, it's the essence of this like positive bubble that they emanate. I really do think that those guys, and I've met two of them now, because I live in Burlington. This is where they, this is where they started. So, and they're just people like you or me, us, and they just in their little 4-man squad, they create like a vibe, and it becomes like a whole, just like the donut. That's like the Phish donut thing, right? It becomes an opening. They create an opening, and something, I think, comes through, And I don't know what that is. I've sometimes wonder if it's ancestral, like if it's connected to their ancestors, some energy that's coming through them via their ancestors. I don't know. That's what I've thought sometimes. Or if it's or I've sometimes felt the energy of Jerry Garcia around Trey. I've like felt Jerry there, or whatever. At least that's what I think I felt. And uh, um, but I do think an opening gets created. They allow and they invite and they create through a practice of specifically jam band music, is specifically calling for something to come in, something new nobody ever heard before. And so it's like, well, the same way with jazz. Jazz is the same kind of thing where you're calling in something. And I remember when I first learned to play the piano, I literally felt like I was channeling like blues music was coming through me. Like I knew what to play, like because it was like I could already hear it. It was like literally like a transmission from like the old blues guys coming into me. So it's mystical. I do think that there's something mystical going on at the Phish shows, to be quite honest. And so their whole crew that they've created, they're so like cohesive and stuff. It's not just a bunch of people they hired. Like, oh, we'll hire a bunch of a-holes. It's like, no, like Chris Kuroda, like their light guy, he's part of the band. He, everything they do is like they've like transcended and included as they've gone. Like they started off, just a few blocks from here is the house where they lived in, and across the street is this old milk factory. And instead of being like, oh, what's with these fucking milk trucks driving by every day, they write a song called Harry Hood, and it becomes like a thing. Oh, Harry Hood, and that was back in 1986 or something, 85, where they just like, and they brought that with them the whole way. They've never cut themselves off. Like, you know what, this is our new direction. It's like, no, man, they're still playing Harry Hood, and it's still, and it becomes deeper. It becomes more every time they play it. They explore a new avenue of it they never knew. So I do think that in jam band music, and specifically probably from the Grateful Dead, just people taking a bunch of acid and just like, it's probably where it started, a lot of it, but there's like an opening, and the crowd is on that level. They're ready for the opening, and everyone's ready. Everyone's inviting something big, and I do think it's very similar to what a true religious experience should be, as opposed to knowing, about God. I know about this about God. Like the Quakers, don't they just sit there and they like,
yeah,
they just sit there and they listen and they observe and wait for something to happen, I think. Or like the Buddhists, they just sit there and they wait for something to happen.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think there's like, I think it's very easy, especially, like the Catholic Church gets, I think, a bit too into the ritual. They get to like everything has to be exactly the same. And I think what's really nice about other types of like, religious services, if you could call maybe a Phish show or a jam band show, that it's like it does have a bit of a structure. There's the day leading up where everyone kind of shows up and gets ready. Then you go in, then they play, like there's the intro, and then they start. There's two sets. There's one set that plays a certain number of songs, and they take a little break. Then there's the second set. Then you take a little break, and then there's the encore, and all of this stuff it's like there are these very segmented chunks, but within there's so much room for things to happen, and there's so much about like, okay, we have these sort of rituals that go in place, Fishman always wears the dress, and they have different things that they'll kind of bring back and forth, but yeah, within that, it's kind of just like anything might happen, and it's kind of the same thing. When you meditate, it's good like to have a bit of a ritual. Like I sit in the same place every day, or I do it at the same time every day, or I repeat whatever it is. You have some sort of ritual, basically telling the universe like, okay, I'm entering this sort of phase. Now I'm just going to see what arrives. And yeah, it's like every Phish show is a little different. You never know, like, like you might be in a fight with your friends, or you get lost, or something happens, or yeah, like you have a bad trip, whatever. But it all kind of adds up, and it just equals whatever you take away from it, And so in that way, it kind of, yeah, you surrender, to whatever it is.
Yeah, and and that's the thing I was saying about your whole life could be like a Phish show. You're like, all right, I'm gonna and specifically creating art. Creating your music, creating your art. You're like, all right, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna be here. It's like that book War of Art. You ever heard that book?
Oh yeah, so good.
Nice. Yeah. So he just like shows up, and he knows that there's gonna be a lot of things that want to distract him. A lot of like forces, evil forces. That's what he puts it in the
The
book.
resistance, right?
Yeah, the resistance.
Yeah.
Resistance, and that's the war.
Yeah.
And the doubt and the blah blah blah, yeah. So like, but just like being like doing dishes. Doing dishes could be this wonderful, like wonderful experience. It could be, like I think that's what they're trying to do in monasteries, Buddhist monasteries. They're like, all right, chop wood, carry water. Like you're in like what there's every time you chop wood, it's a different thing. It's a different way to chop wood. It's a different way to carry water. So it's always there's never the same thing twice. Actually, it's just our minds that think that. I'm not even the same person I was starting this interview. Neither are you two.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing. The river. There's no. What if there's something about the river? You can't step in the same river twice. Because
Well,
it's always flowing.
and I think there's also something too, is like, tying it back to kind of where we started, is it's like Phish kind of commits to doing lots of shows, or they commit to little things. Like for instance, and you see this, and I think this is why they have such staying power, is because they're more concerned about the process, about the practice. Like
Yeah.
they come up with a different set list every show, even though they don't have to. And that's like one of the big things, is like they commit to always pushing themselves, always changing, no matter what. And they kind of are in this like, we might be playing giant arenas, or maybe it turns out that we're not cool anymore and we go back to playing clubs, but we are committed to our process of interacting with each other. And if we can allow that, like our practice of that, and to share it with the world and inspire the world and help other people, and just be a vehicle for some amazing experiences, then all the better. And I think it's like just committing to putting shows out, or picking a process, and just like, this is what we do, and maybe that's a lesson for us, even when we don't have giant followings. But it's like, it's more about the process. Like, I'm going to commit to putting out a little video every single day, for a certain amount of time, see what I learn, see what I gain, and just put it out in public. And maybe it creates an experience for someone, for me, for anyone,
Absolutely. Oh, I was wondering what it said behind you, Aaron. The whole time.
Oh, yeah. It's missing the A. I can't find it. I just moved. I can't find the last A, but I wanted to put it up anyways. So I always know who I am.
I was guessing, is it Axiom? Is it Avon?
Yeah. The N is actually a W that I cut the part off.
Oh, okay.
I got it at a gig. Actually, it might have been with you, Jesse. We were working an AV gig, and they had a bunch of these styrofoam letters. And like, oh wait, can I spell my name? I totally can. They're throwing these away. Anybody want them? Like, yes, I'll take those.
Nice.
Dude,
gotta embrace your ego.
There was some fun gigs in Austin, dude. I have to say, I did some really fun gigs there. Did you do the Alienware one?
No, I wish I had.
Southwest. They had like an Alienware VR thing. Oh, dude, it was so cool. I don't know. There's not everyone was, obviously most of them were pretty shitty corporate like companies that nobody cares about, but every once in a while there were some fun gigs down there.
I at least had a good conversation every gig, at least one, maybe not all of them, but there's always some kind of good combo to have. There's some cool people to talk to. But yeah, how long have we been at this? Are we at
We're close to 2 hours. That was pretty.
2 hours, yeah. I feel like that was good, man. I really liked where this conversation went. It was great to meet you, Paul.
You as well, Aaron. Thank you. It was fun.
Yeah, definitely. When you figure out how you want to put your stuff out, we'll include a link in the description, and I'm gonna put some links up to some of the teachers that we've met and or talked about here, and yeah, definitely keep us up to date. When you put out that album, we're gonna get you back on here, crack the whip, see how dedicated you've been to putting out music.
I love it. I think that's really great to have accountability buddies and stuff.
Yeah.
So what do you say to trying to put on like a live show between now and like in the next 30 days? Would you be down for something like that?
I'm up for it. Like on the Zoom or on YouTube
Yeah, we'll
or
do it on
something.
Zoom, and we'll
Facebook?
record it, and it'll be like a Pirate.Utopia presents, and you could I don't know, maybe ask Tyler if he wants to play too, or we could ask some of the other boys or girls or human beings. I'm sorry, I'm still learning all my vocabulary on 2021 gendering. I mean, it sounds silly, but like I live with a roommate who's trans now, and like it's not until it's in my face that I'm just like, wow, I just say guys and girls and like don't include the whole spectrum of people that are out there now. So sorry if you're out there and you're offended. If you want, but my point is we should do a live stream if you want to ask a couple other people to play, or you have an idea or want to just do solo. I don't know. We should just like keep spitballing it.
I think that'd be very healthy to just go ahead and do some stuff.
Yeah.
Play for people.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll ask Tyler.
To play with somebody else like online. Does that work?
It's kind of it's still it's not really there yet because it's like laggy still.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
But they're working on that. But
gotcha.
There's a group of people here. Maybe we could just like play together. The masked ball. We could all wear masks and play together.
Dude, let's do that.
I just got a text today. It's actually some really good musicians. The guitar player from Dopapod. He lives here. Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Dopapod's sick.
Yeah. So him, Rob, he and some other like really good musicians in town. I just got a text like, "Yo, let's have a jam session with with masks on." I'm like, "All right, that sounds great." So that'd be cool to broadcast that, huh?
Yeah, I mean, if they're down, we'll look it up. Because we're trying to build our little platform just to like keep putting out content, and then eventually have a channel that people are like can kind of thumb through, and be like, wow, there's 50 hours of content on here, whether it's live music or it's just podcasts or whatever.
Sweet, that's good. Just like build something, right?
Yeah.
Yep. We're kind of doing exactly what we were saying. We're just putting shit out there, and we're just gonna keep learning and putting it out, and yeah, we'll figure it out as we go.
Well, I certainly feel that this was helpful for me. I felt very a lot of good things happening in me just now. It felt good. So thanks.
Awesome. Yo, thank you so much, Paul. It was really great to see you. It's always like feels like no time has passed every time I catch up with you. But
I feel the same way. Yeah.
Much love, brother. Thank you so much.